This video is sponsored by Mudita. I have simplified a lot over the past few years. My home, my routines, my wardrobe, and my phone too in a few ways. I have removed most apps, turned off notifications, and tried to keep things intentional. It's not as chaotic as it used to be, but even with those changes, it still steals my attention more than I would like. I check it during the day more often than I need to. I tend to pick it up the moment I get a thought, breaking the flow of whatever I was doing instead of just writing it down for later. So sometimes I catch myself wondering who's really in charge, me or the phone. I'm not trying to give up technology completely. I think it can improve our lives in many ways, and yeah, my work kind of depends on it, but I have started to notice that the more intentional my life becomes, the more I want my phone to reflect that too. I don't want it to be my constant companion, I just want it to work for me, not the other way around. I want more pauses, more stillness, more moments that aren't instantly filled with some kind of input or screen. So this week I'm doing something I have never tried before, turning off my smartphone and switching to a minimalist phone called the Mudita Kompakt. It has no social media, no app store, just the real basics. Calls, texts, calendar, notes. I'll show you what it's actually like to live with a minimalist phone for 7 days and explore what changes and what doesn't. The pros and the cons, how I set it up for daily life, who this kind of phone might actually be good for, and who it probably will not suit. And in the end, whether I'll keep using it or not. There's a calm feeling when there's not much to set up. No logins, no cloud sync, no endless settings. I charge it to 100% because I'm curious to see how long the battery lasts. Apparently it should last much longer than a typical smartphone, we will see. But honestly, what stands out more isn't the battery, it's the quiet. There's nothing to open, nothing to scroll, and somehow that makes it more interesting. Not much in my life has now changed, but something inside feels weird, like I'm missing something. It reminds me of those first days of spring, when you walk outside without a heavy jacket after months of wearing one, if you know that feeling. It's not really uncomfortable, just slightly unfamiliar to your mind. To support this slower rhythm, I decide to visit the local library. I pick up 2 books that catch my attention, Slow Productivity by Cal Newport and The Zahir by Pablo Coelho, one non-fiction and one fiction. I'm not setting any rules for how or when I will read, I just go by feel. That's what I usually do since reading has never come to me all that naturally anyway. But I have to say, so far, I feel great, actually excited. But it's very interesting how often I still reach for a device, even though there's nothing it can give me. I don't do it out of stress or a real urgent need all the time, just habit. I guess that's part of the process and what this week is really about. This morning I started the day by trying the meditation app. It's really just a simple bell or gong, and I actually like that. You don't need anything to meditate, of course, but having something that gently marks the time gives a bit of structure to the practice. Other than that, I want to get a better sense of what I'm actually working with, like what's on this phone, what it can do and what it doesn't. The screen is definitely something I have not seen before. It's an e-ink display, so basically like reading off paper. It's black and white, there's no glare, and it gives off very little blue light. The operating system and layout are very simple and distraction-free. It has only essential tools here like phone, SMS and apps. And yes, my friends with new iPhones will definitely find this weird. You cannot scroll this down or anything, this is all it has. Very basic stuff like alarm, notes and maps, which you can download once using Wi-Fi and then use offline. All this can be removed as well if you would like to, so it's still customizable. One thing I really like is this offline plus button on the side here. It instantly disconnects all wireless functions without turning off the phone. That's perfect for important events or meetings. Okay, it tells me 6-day battery life. Well, yeah, it is definitely more than smartphones, or at least the one I have, but to be honest, I think I will not be able to reach that, like those 6 days, since I will be using it a lot to try all the functions, but let's see. Overall, pretty simple, exactly what I wanted. I'm curious to see what starts to feel better and what might get in the way as the days go on. I am now a few days in and I have started to notice some real differences in how my days feel, both good and slightly inconvenient. For one, things have definitely been calmer. I haven't felt overstimulated all week. There have been more quiet pauses, more these still moments where nothing is really happening and my mind actually gets to rest. The phone usually just sits on my desk and I don't really think about it or reach for it. That's probably the biggest change, because if this were my smartphone, I know I would have picked it up a dozen times already just out of habit. But now, since there's nothing to check, there's no feeds or anything, I have been able to focus much more deeply. Reading has been easier too, I have to say. And at night, I either read a few pages or just lie there and let the day settle. It has been a while since my evenings felt this calm. But of course, it's not perfect. I don't use SMS anymore. Most of my communication happens through WhatsApp, which this phone doesn't support. So I've been using the web version on my computer, which means that every time I want to check or reply, I need to sit down at my desk and open it up. It's not that big deal, and I have actually been calling people more, but yeah, it's a bit less smooth. Technically, you can sideload apps like WhatsApp or Telegram from your computer onto this phone, but the company Mudita doesn't officially support it. So this is something that I have not tried, at least yet. For now, I am keeping things basic, but it is a possibility. One thing that has made my life a bit inconvenient this week is also that there's no internet browser. So when I want to check something quick, like restaurant opening hours yesterday when I wasn't at home, or my Google Calendar, which I have used to schedule my things, I cannot. And again, it's not wrong, that's the design. But it does give some 2000s vibes in a way, when life was a bit more inconvenient compared to now, but also slower and simpler at the same time. It didn't take long for this phone to feel like part of my everyday life, and now, a week in, I understand the power of something simple like this in today's world. I feel like we have gotten so used to what a phone is supposed to do and be, but this one flipped that completely. Most smartphones feel like little worlds. You open them and suddenly you are somewhere else. They are not just tools anymore. They have become environments, places you step into without even meaning to. Minimalist phones like this are built from the opposite angle. They are not trying to be anything more than what they are, a functional tool, something you use and then set down. Smartphones are designed around potential. What else could you be doing? Where else could you be? Who else could you talk to? This constant access to more can create pressure, at least for me it has. It holds this sense that I could be or should be doing something else. But this phone doesn't give me that feeling. It just encourages presence. It supports what is already in front of me. Most phones these days are built for constant connection. They assume you want to be available, reachable, responsive, updated all the time. And even if you manage your notifications or switch things off, the structure is still built around being online by default. This phone, on the other hand, started from disconnection and let me choose when to connect. So I didn't need to dig through menus or fight for any boundaries. They were already there, built into the design. After a full week, I feel clearer, peaceful, and more focused. I have noticed how often I use technology without thinking and how different it feels when the tool I'm using actually supports the way I want to live. And honestly, I have to say, I think 1 week is Still quite short time to see the real benefits of something like this. I feel the longer you use it, the more the benefits build and start to stack on top of each other. Better sleep, more mindfulness, more focus often just lead to more of those positive things, versus being overwhelmed and distracted. That usually just leads to more scrolling and disconnection. But of course, it's not perfect. Modern daily life is very connected, and if you're using a lot of systems that are built for smartphones like online banking, transport tickets, or two-step verifications, as I do as well, it can get a bit inconvenient. And this is the reason why I had to use my smartphone a few times this week. Once to turn on the robot vacuum because the floor was getting dusty, a couple of times for navigation while driving to places I didn't know and where I had an appointment and couldn't risk being late. And I also use my smartphone to record the audio for these videos. So that was as well another exception. But even with those small moments, I felt way more in control than ever before. I was choosing when and why to use the phone, and that already felt like a big shift. One thing that really surprised me was the battery life. I feel like it's even more than the 6 days that they said, or at least that, because I would say my usage amount has been pretty normal after all, and now after a full week without charging, the battery is still at 20%, and it says I have about 1 day and 4 hours left, which honestly feels kind of wild. This will be perfect for those longer hiking and camping trips for emergencies. But who is this kind of phone actually for? If your current phone already feels like a positive thing, something you use with intention without it constantly pulling at your focus, then this kind of switch is probably not necessary. Some people really do have a calm relationship with their devices, and if that's your case, there's no need to change what is already working. But if you sometimes find yourself thinking, I check my phone way too much, or I wish I could just unplug for a while, then this might be really worth considering, especially with a setup I will share in a moment. Because minimalism at its core isn't about owning less just to own less. It's about choosing tools that actually support the kind of life that you want. So a phone like this isn't about getting a new cool device. It's about stepping away from habits that don't serve you and cutting back on that constant overstimulation. So then the big question, will I keep using it? And the answer is yes, I will. This will stay as my main phone, the one that holds my SIM card, but I'm not going to declutter my smartphone completely. There are still some things it does better, like banking, validating tickets, or logging into services that require an app, and recording the audio for these videos. So I'll keep it, but in a more intentional way. The setup I am moving toward is part-time use. I'll use the Kompakt, so the minimalist phone, for most of my daily life and bring the smartphone with me only when I know I might need it. So for errands, meetings, or travel, it will be there as a backup. Probably mainly it will be off and in my bag, but it will be on for the moments that it is needed. And I really like how that feels. I get the calm and clarity that comes from using a minimalist phone without giving up the convenience that a regular smartphone still offers. Someone might think that it's like way too much having two phones, but for me, this setup is better than either one on its own. It gives me space, structure, and peace of mind, and that is exactly what I was looking for. If you feel like this could benefit your life too, check it out through the link in the description and make sure to use the code SUNNYKIND15 at the checkout for 15% off. So yeah, back to that simple but very powerful and important question, who's really in charge? And the answer is whoever you let be in charge. That is what I have found out. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to stay kind and meaningful in your own beautiful journey. Go to check out the Mudita Kompakt, link in the description. See you in the next one.